Hi, my name is Katarina Sullivan and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I am more than well aware that my hair is a complete and utter mess. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you would know by now that there is nothing much that can be done about it. It's got a mind of its own, so we're just rolling with it. It's only a few days till the election and I can't control it anymore. Today we're talking about Labour Party policies. Unfortunately, on the Labour Party website, there isn't a specific section of the 2019 election campaign that I can really easily see. I could just be blonde. If anyone else can find it, you can comment and make me look like an idiot. I don't mind. But I haven't been able to find it. I went alp.org.au. I've looked through the About section, Our People, Meet Bill. The best section I could find is campaigns, and so that's the page I'm going to read from today. Most of the campaigns line up with their election policies anyway, so we're just going to roll with that. But if there are any I miss, it's because they're not listed on the website. And I'm trying to be apolitical and not give any party any special preference, so I'm trying not to do any more research than what is on the website. So something I do need to make a mention of before we even get started, this is quite anti-liberal. Yesterday when we read through the policies, they were all positive. They didn't mention Labour, so they were all about creating a better future, not Labour sucks. But this is about Liberal sucks. Like I said, I'm just reading from the websites. This isn't about me supporting any party's views. I have colleagues and friends in the Liberal Party, and I mean no disrespect. I have colleagues and friends in the Labour Party and the Greens Party. I mean no disrespect to any politician anywhere. Really important to just distinguish that I am purely reading off the website. The first policy that's listed, or campaign that's listed, before I get called out on someone fact checking the information, I know that the information can come across a little bit misleading. So the very first one is Stop the Liberal Cuts, and it talks about hospitals and education. And what has happened is that when the coalition got in 2013, they cut the budget that Labour had promised leading up to the 2013 election. But they haven't necessarily made cuts to schools. Like, schools funding has increased. All they have cut is what Labour promised. So, before anyone fact checks that, saying, but Liberal hasn't cut money, I understand it's just about the clever wording, the very subtle wording of election campaigning, which is props to their marketing department. And that's why I spoke about with the whole fake news thing, is that political parties can get away with saying stuff that is actually incorrect and they don't get into trouble for it. And both of the major parties are as equally guilty, some of the minor parties. You just need to be really, really vigilant and do your own fact checking. It's gotten so bad to the point that the AEC has run a campaign on it, because the AEC can't intervene. They can tell you, by the way, you should probably watch out for things, because not everyone tells the truth, unfortunately. And if Pinocchio were real, he wouldn't be a politician. But maybe Pinocchio is real. Who's to say he isn't? Anyway, so the first policy on the website, which we've just been through, is Stop the Liberal Cuts. And then we have Save Medicare, Protect TAFE, Fully Fund Our Schools, Act on Live Exports, Fix Our Hospitals, Protect Penalty Rates. Again, this is like an anti-liberal one. I get such anxiety when I have to say anything bad about a politician, because I'm like, I love all you guys. Stop Morrison's attack on uni students. Please don't hate me. Labour's Climate Change Action Plan. The next thing on here is Banking Royal Commission. The Banking Royal Commission's already done, but what we need to see now is action to be taken out of those recommendations. So when Labour puts Banking Royal Commission on their website, they're not calling for a Royal Commission, because the Royal Commission has been done. They're calling for action to be taken. Funding preschools, protecting the ABC and SBS, standing up for an Australian Republic, reverse dental cuts, help end forced marriage. People might think that this isn't an issue in Australia. It 100% is. We do have cases of forced marriage in Australia, and we want to see that ended, because a lot of the time it's the women who are the ones being forced into the marriages, and sometimes it can happen when they are under the legal age. And so it's a really important policy around gender equality. Then we have the National Integrity Commission, which I find really interesting, being proposed by one of the major parties, because I hope that this is a commission around anti-corruption, and I hope that it is applied to the major parties and to politicians just as much as it is to small business and big business and not-for-profits and everyone in between. There is a lot of corruption that happens in government, and it's not even hidden corruption. Like, there's been royal commissions done into corruption where they've pulled people up on it and then nothing's happened. And just as a private citizen and voter, I'm like, how is this? How are people getting away with it? But I find it super interesting because there's even been corruption happening in this election by the major parties, and it's not, people think of corruption as being this really dirty, secretive thing. It doesn't need to be. It can just be doing a favor for someone that has a vested interest in what you're doing and putting the people who you are responsible to last. And that's happened by both major parties this election, every election in the past. And it's hard not to because of how the political system is structured. It's structured off donations. And so it's really interesting that one of the major parties has proposed this policy. And it's really hard for me to stay quiet because I'm like, but hypocrisy. But I'm gonna keep my big mouth shut as much as I can because I have a lot of opinions, but I better not air them. You can come and chat to me later about this one if you want. Anyway, the last policy is living wage. So in Australia at the moment, our minimum wage is below the relative poverty level, which means that if you are on minimum wage, you are technically living in poverty, and that probably shouldn't be happening in a developed country. We should have a minimum wage that matches our relative poverty level. And that's why that one's in there. The one thing I do want to point out that I've been really disappointed in by both major parties is that there hasn't been an Indigenous people specific policy. There's been nothing specific around closing the gap between non-Indigenous and Indigenous Australians. And that's something that I'm really, really passionate about. If I was running an election campaign and I wanted to do something that could both make a difference in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and also win me some election brownie points and get some voters to come over to my side, I would propose making treaty something that, I'm being a dual citizen, New Zealander also, and I've been to Waitangi grounds and I've done the tour and seen where they signed the treaty and cried and done traditional Māori greeting with my dad on the treaty grounds. I just can't believe that we haven't done this in Australia, and we talk about this whole change the date thing and oh my god, when are we going to put the date? If we had a treaty signed, then we could have Treaty Day like they do in New Zealand, and I've written a blog about this on my website if you want to go and check it out. But we could just have, the 26th of January as a commemorative day that we, mark that Captain James Cook did come to Australia. It was a turning point for this country, but it wasn't necessarily the best day in the entire world because genocide happened. And coming from Croatian heritage and having our country recently been through genocide, I'm very sensitive to that. So if we had a treaty day, I think it would solve all the issues, and it's a really simple thing to propose, and I think if we can make treaty, we can actually see more progress happen with the Close the Gap campaign, because within that treaty we will have conditions of improving communication between the government and leaders and elders in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, which I think is where the issue is, that connection is just broken. That line of communication doesn't happen the way it should. And I know from my experience with the Aboriginal Tent Embassy in Canberra and dealing with elders around Australia and even dealing with elders in different organisations, I think if we can restore that connection through a treaty and we can actually see progress being made, hallelujah, we might see something happen. I was really surprised, really disappointed. I know that Indigenous people have been mentioned multiple times throughout individual policies. I know that there's special mention of Indigenous people in the youth mental health campaign that's done by the Liberal Party, but I'd really like to just see something focused specifically on Indigenous peoples. If you like this video and learned something, give it a thumbs up. Please share the video with your family and friends. Please comment below with any questions or DM me. I'm answering everything I can up till election day, and of course I'll answer things afterwards, but like specifically up till election day I'm checking as often as I can to help and answer questions. Please subscribe to my channel to see the new videos that are coming out, and I'll see you guys next time.